Hi guys, welcome to Purple Corner. How are you doing? Okay, let me just check the time real quick. Oh, right. It's Christmas o'clock. The year is slowly coming to an end, and we've started this channel merely 3 months ago. And I just wanted to say thank you all so much for the support that you've been giving me because I couldn't have gone so far without you. And as a thanks, I wanted to make you a little special something, a little special animation just for you guys. And I would really love to get a gift to each of you, but sadly, I'm not that skilled. So instead, I decided to make an animation where I'll be wrapping up a gift for each of you. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do, please make sure to like this video. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I would say the typical process of gift packing is that you have a box. You drop the box and you put the gift into the box. And then you just take some wrapping paper and boom, and you have yourself a wrapped gift. And it's gonna be perfect. And that was basically my idea of how I wanted to animate this. Using this demonstration, I started by sketching out the box that would basically fall from the sky and then it would slowly get wrapped by itself into a perfect present. Now you might be asking, why did I pick packing presents as the Christmas animation for this year? And I'll tell you a little story. Since I was young, my parents were part of this really weird cult, which basically prohibited them from celebrating any Christian festivities like Christmas, Easter, and so on. Obviously, this can be really bad for a kid, especially during the Christmas season. So instead of Christmas, we basically substitute the holiday with our own, and we called it the present day. We obviously had some evening dinner and then we would just go unwrap some presents, but we didn't have anything like a Christmas tree or Christmas decorations and so on. I basically didn't get a proper Christmas tree until I was like 13 when my parents stopped joining the cult. And so giving presents holds a special place in my heart as the most important part of the holiday, which was sort of a constant between the two different holidays, both Christmas and present day, surrounds itself mostly around family and presents. We always got a bunch of toys so that we would have something to talk about after the holidays at school. But as soon as I learned to write, I started contributing to the present day by my own handmade presents. In my opinion, it never had to be anything big or pricey. What mattered the most is that it was personal and made with love, or given with love at least. And as a kid, you don't even have that much money to spend on your family's presents, so instead you just make things. I gave my parents drawings and paintings that I made specially for them. My grandma had a bunch of cats, so I would always paint her cats for Christmas and she would love it. And this tradition sort of seemed to stick with me. That's what Christmas is about for me. It's about giving presents to your loved ones and your family and your friends, but not just any presents. It's the presents that show that they mean something to you and they show that you know what's important to them too. Ever since I turned 18, my family thought that the tradition was about this majestic holiday with two huge Christmas trees and many expensive presents, but I didn't really enjoy the way they celebrated it. It was almost like a race of who would give the better, bigger present, of who would be the favorite parent with the greatest present of the year. Although my presents were small but personalized, they felt like nothing compared to the things that they were giving out. And the kids got spoiled, and they all wanted the most expensive, most crazy thing. They were getting things like phones and speakers and consoles and such, and well, they really wanted it, that's for sure, and I think that's fine too, but I think it shouldn't be a race about who gives the bigger, better present. I think it should mostly be about the default that you had someone in mind and you wanted to do something nice for them. Like, if you can afford it, it's probably fine if you just want to buy the presents. I'm not saying that buying presents is necessarily bad. I just think that once you're old enough to earn your money, once you want something, you buy it for yourself. And there are just some things that you really cannot buy. And honestly, it just makes me the happiest when I make something with my hard work and people actually enjoy it so much in the end. Like, for example, I know my boyfriend's parents have two cats that they adore so much, and I didn't really know them that well at the time. So I decided to gather some pictures of their cats, and I made them a huge painting. And I can proudly say that this painting is still hanging framed in their hallway to this day. Obviously, the best part of Christmas is getting together with your loved ones, but I love being super generous, so giving presents is one of my favorite parts of the holiday. Going shopping for Christmas gifts can be a terrible experience these days. All these people rushing into the stores for the discounts as if there were seagulls at the beach looking for the last bagel in the trash can. But I realized that I would go through the struggle anyway just to get someone their perfect gift. Honestly, it's almost impossible to ask someone what they want for Christmas sometimes because you usually get the typical answers of I don't know, I don't want anything, or whatever you get me is fine. And that's why usually when I decide to gift someone, I have stopped asking and instead I trust myself to know the person well enough to figure out what they would like. I honestly prefer making handmade gifts because they feel more personal rather than buying someone some shampoos and basically saying they stink. Please don't give me shampoos or soaps for Christmas. I will get a rash and then never use them and soon give them away. And that's the story how I kind of lost my Christmas spirit while going out to shop for presents, but in the end I got the Christmas spirit back because it was all about the family. Anyway, let's talk some more about this animation I'm making here right now. It came from a very basic idea that just slowly started growing over the time as I was making it. The general idea was that the box was gonna fall down from the sky, then a present would fall into it, and then the magical wrapping paper would wrap itself around the present. And lastly, we would get ourselves some beautiful ribbons. I realized that my favorite type of media on Instagram these days is these looping animations, where you can just watch the reel again and again, and it basically never stops. So I decided that I would try to implement this idea into my animation, so basically we get endless presents! So every time a present wraps itself, it would slide off screen to have an empty space for another box that can start wrapping itself up again. Another thing that I've been really into lately is this game called Melatonin. It's a simple to control rhythm game, and the reason why I enjoy it so much is mostly because of the really satisfying music and the aesthetics. It's got this what I would refer to as purple aesthetic, where everything is kind of purplish. And I thought that this aesthetic would be completely perfect for my wrapping animation. Number one, because I wanted to give the animation a bit modern feel rather than the traditional Christmas aesthetics. It would be easier and the screen would probably seem less cluttered that way. And number two, the channel is called Purple Corner. Of course, I had to make a purple present. Another thing that was in the original idea is that one loop would wrap 3 presents, where maybe each present would have a different shape or a different gift. But then I realized that the animation actually came out so much longer than I expected. So I had to lower my ambitions just so I would make it on time for Christmas. And also I didn't want the loop to be too long, just so it's not too much of a struggle to watch. I think what's amazing is I learned so much this year by making these animations for you guys, and I feel like I improved a lot. One of the many things that I learned is that the sketches are absolutely everything. The sketch is your best friend. Because if you sketch out everything perfectly, you will be ready to just line out everything easily and you won't have to worry about any of the technical stuff and just focus on making it pretty. You have to learn these things the hard way too, because when I was making this animation, I thought that the part where the gift drops inside of the box is gonna be like the easiest part and I definitely don't have to sketch it, right? Right? Wrong. I had everything perfectly sketched out, the whole wrapping motion and everything, but I didn't make the sketch for the plushie falling in. And that was one of my biggest struggles during the line arting, is because I didn't know how the plushie would look, I didn't know the shape of it, and I didn't know the motion of it. I didn't know when the box was gonna close on it and everything else, so that was what helped me back the most during the line arting process. There were few more parts that I actually didn't sketch, but there were just simple details that I figured out that they would be sort of easy, and okay, they were sort of easy, so it wasn't way too much struggle in the end. But still, making the sketch where the animation is completely on point, just as a reference for the line art, so you can just ink everything in one go and not worry about anything else, is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've been doing in my past animations. And nowadays I mostly enjoy the sketching out of everything. It makes the line arting and coloring and everything else a whole lot easier. "82 frames of sketches later, the general idea for the animation was complete, and all I had to do was make it pretty. In the sketch, you could see there were still some parts missing, like the wrapping paper underneath the gift. How does the wrapping paper cut itself? How does it hold together on the gift? Good question. These are the parts that I took off during the line arting, where I inked the cardboard cutter and then placed it accordingly on the paper so it would cut it in a one smooth slide. I was also asking myself, how does the box cutter get into the view? And that's easy. Fade in. There's a whole bunch of other things that I learned during this animation as well. As for example, why do my lines never look too smooth? What I already knew is that you have to make the line as fast as possible to make it as smooth as possible. But what helped me a lot during drawing this box was the smoothing. I raised the smoothing for the pen, which made the lines go a lot slower, which was sort of frustrating, but in the end the lines were more precise than I ever made them before. Another thing that I realized is that imperfections are perfect. Imperfections are beautiful and they make the thing unique. Have you ever seen a perfectly shaped box? I definitely haven't. So occasionally my box had some bumps or lumps, but I decided to leave them in because that's just how boxes are. You get a beaten up package and then you just use the box for something else. Another great helpful tip for Photoshoppers that don't know Photoshop like me is that when you hold shift you can make a perfectly straight line according to your view. Not according to the canvas, according to your view. I also used that function a couple of times for certain lines, but I didn't want to use it for all the lines because I knew that the box would just be too perfect and I don't want that. Next, I started kind of designing the toy. You can see I'm sketching it, although I'm already at the line art process. That's what happens when you don't sketch it beforehand. I decided to make this tiny kitty plushie. It's my avatar. I think her name is officially Parika now. I just tried to take the original design and make it as minimalistic as possible so that it would sort of fit the aesthetics and also so it would look like an actual plushie. As I was coloring this later, everything was in this sort of purple tone. The only thing that wasn't quite purple was the plushie because I wanted it to stand out from the rest of the items in the animation. So, now that you know my favorite part of the holiday, what is your favorite part of this holiday? Do you enjoy making the Christmas dinner? Do you enjoy decorating the Christmas tree? Or just the general vibe of being with your close ones? One of my other favorite things to do during Christmas holidays is baking the sweets. I haven't made gingerbread cookies for a few years now, and this year I got the chance to make them with my boyfriend's mom. Honestly, it was one of the most fun days I had. I don't know about your household, but in every household I've been so far, you can't make a reasonable amount of sweets. You just have to make like 50 types of goodies and end up with 3 tons of cookies that you're eating until February. When I was told that I could decorate all the gingerbreads by myself, I was like, heck yeah! Anything creative, including decorating gingerbread cookies, is my favorite thing ever. And I was glad that I could help out, so I decided that I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. What I didn't expect is that I would receive a box of approximately 500 cookies that needed all to be decorated within like a week. And then my family hit me up that they don't want to celebrate the Christmas in their house but in my home instead. So I had to also figure out if I have enough plates and glasses and napkins and decorations and everything. Not to mention the Christmas dinner is pretty important to us. The traditional meal for our country is a fried carp, with some potato salad. And since the party is happening in my place, I have to figure out how do I make a carp. I've never made a carp before. And so I spent the whole evening descaling a carp for the first time ever, and it was crazy and mostly it was slippery and gross, but it's gonna be delicious once it's done, so worth it. In the end, the animation actually took so much longer than I expected, and mostly it had so many more frames than I also expected. I always have this like small idea and then it turns out to be a huge project, like the creepcast animation that is still not finished. I think the creepcast animation is becoming more of a long-term project that I will work on streams. I just don't want to bore you with constant creepcast animation updates, so I like to throw in a different video every now and then. But then it also turns out to be a huge project, and suddenly I have multiple huge projects on hand, and suddenly I don't have enough time to finish anything. So I hope that you like it this way, or if you just want me to finish one thing at a time, I also can do that. In the end, the animation was unbelievable 112 frames. I had to write an automatic function for Photoshop just so I could apply this effect on every single frame and didn't have to do it by hand. I decided to put some color aberration on screen and also some grain to give it sort of nostalgic feel. And here is the finished result. I'm so happy with how the animation came out, and I hope that you did too. And if you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you can see more videos in the future. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!